You ever been in a conversation where the words sound perfectly fine, but something just feels off? Well, that's because we're all constantly sending and receiving these silent signals. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of body language, that unspoken dialogue that, believe it or not, shapes pretty much every single interaction we have. So let's just dive right in and start tuning into that silent broadcast that's happening all around us all the time. And get ready for this number because it's a big one. According to researchers Alan and Barbara Pease, up to 90% of all our communication is nonverbal. Yeah, you heard that right, 90%. That means the vast majority of what we're saying has absolutely nothing to do with the words coming out of our mouths. It's all about the silent broadcast of our real feelings and intentions. And when you think about it, this makes perfect sense. Body language is our original primal form of communication. I mean, long before we had words for friend or danger, we had gestures, posture, facial expressions. It's a language that is literally hardwired into our brains from millions of years of evolution. So let me ask you, are you even aware of the signals you're sending out right now? There was this one experiment where people couldn't even recognize their own bodies in a mirror. That's just how unconscious this stuff is for most of us. So what story is your posture telling while you're sitting here listening to this? Kind of makes you think, right? Okay, so before we start trying to decode everybody around us, we need a framework. Because if you misinterpret a single gesture, you can create some huge misunderstandings. So we're going to start with the 3 golden rules for reading body language accurately. Think of this as your basic toolkit. You got to have it. So the first and honestly the most important rule is this. You can never, ever interpret a single gesture by itself. First, you have to read gestures in clusters. So someone's crossing their arms. Okay, but what are their hands doing? What's their face saying? Second, you have to consider the context. Are they crossing their arms in a freezing cold room? Well, they might just be cold. And third, look for the sequence. If they cross their arms right after you suggest an idea and then lean back, well, now that tells a much clearer story, doesn't it? That's defensiveness. All right, so now that we've got the rules down, let's get to the really fun part. Decoding some of the most common and, frankly, most powerful signals you're going to see every single day. We're going to focus on the core language of openness, defensiveness, and of course, status. Let's start with something as simple as the hands. Just the way you orient your palm sends a super powerful subconscious message. A palm-up gesture? That's an ancient signal of openness and honesty. It's basically showing you're not holding a weapon. It's completely non-threatening. But just turn that palm down, and instantly it signals authority and dominance. It's like you're physically or metaphorically pushing something, or someone, down. Now, let's talk about the crossed arm gesture. This is one of the most common and most misunderstood signals out there. It is a universal signal of being defensive or feeling negative. And even if you say, oh, I'm just comfortable, we all say that, right? Research shows that other people will still see it as you being closed off. An open posture, on the other hand, with your arms uncrossed, projects confidence and just makes you way more approachable. So if you want to project confidence, here are 3 really powerful signals to look for and, maybe to use yourself. First, hand steepling. That's when you press your fingertips together like a steeple. It's a classic sign of a confident thinker. Displaying your thumbs, like hooking them in your pockets or just pointing them up, signals dominance. And a handshake? The goal is always equality. A firm, vertical grip communicates mutual respect. It avoids the aggression of a palm-down shake or the submission of a weak one. Okay, so we've talked about hands and arms, which, we can control to some degree. But what about the part of our body that just leaks the most truth? The part we almost never, ever think to manage? That's right, our feet and our legs. Because they're the furthest thing from our brain, and we're just not conscious of them, they often reveal where our mind truly wants to go. The feet, my friends, do not lie. So let's break down what our feet are screaming at us. If someone's talking to you, but their feet are angled towards the door, yeah, their mind is already on its way out. A foot pointed toward you, on the other hand, shows genuine interest. A leg twine, which you often see in women, can signal some insecurity or shyness. And that jiggling foot? That's a huge sign of impatience or nervous energy just dying to be released. All right, let's touch on the classic gestures people associate with lying. You see, when we lie, our subconscious literally tries to cover it up. The brain tells the hand to cover the mouth or to touch the nose. Physiologically, lying can actually cause a rush of blood to the capillaries in your nose, which makes it itch. They call it the Pinocchio effect. Now, remember, these aren't proof of a lie, but they are definitely red flags that something is making that person uncomfortable. Okay, now for a really, really critical warning. While a lot of these signals are universal, body language is not a universal language. Assuming a gesture means the same thing everywhere, well, that can lead to some very awkward or even seriously offensive situations. Just take the simple okay gesture. In the US, it means all good, no problem. In Japan, it means money. In France, it can mean you are worth zero. And in some parts of the world, it's a deeply offensive sexual insult. I mean, this one single example just shows you how incredibly important cultural context is. And it goes way beyond hand gestures. How close you stand to someone, your personal space bubble, varies dramatically from culture to culture. The same goes for how appropriate it is to touch someone. The golden rule when you go somewhere new? Just observe first and then act second. So you've learned the rules, you've learned the key signals, what now? Well, this knowledge is so much more than a cool party trick. It's a genuine tool for better connection. It's about understanding what isn't being said, and that leads to way more empathy and insight. One of the most powerful ways to use this knowledge is something called mirroring. It's simple. People like people who are like them. By subtly matching someone's posture or their gestures, you create this subconscious bond. You're basically telling their brain, hey, I'm with you, I get you. It is an incredibly effective way to build rapport and trust fast. But a huge word of caution here. You should only ever mirror open, positive body language. If you mirror someone's crossed arms or their clenched fists, all you're doing is reinforcing their negativity and building a wall between you. And the whole goal here is to build bridges, not walls. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap of the key takeaways. First, always read gestures in clusters and consider the context. Use open postures to build trust and pay close attention to the feet. They're the most honest part of the body. Always be mindful of cultural differences. And finally, use that mirroring technique wisely to build instant rapport. Look, this was never about becoming a human lie detector. It's about developing a much deeper level of perception. So the real question to leave you with is this. Now that you can see the silent signals all around you, how will you use this new awareness not just to see more, but to actually listen and connect on a much, much deeper level?